This computer. There we go.
There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sky's the Limit podcast. No Jackie Herring this week. She's a little busy getting some sunshine in the Vegas area with the TTL crew. Maybe you can catch her on their podcast. I don't know. But I have a different guest. I'm here with Isabel King. Do you just go by
I think
Izzy?
now, yeah, mostly by Izzy, Isabel,
Okay.
all of the above.
Well, and I want to call you
Um,
King Is because that is your
there
Instagram handle. And I just know people by their Instagram handles. So,
you go. Also, yes, great to meet you in person,
yeah,
as
you as
we've
well.
mostly done. Just
And
jump right into it. It's a funny world that we live in where you feel like you know people just from interacting on social media and everything like that, but we've
yeah.
never actually talked, which is great.
Yeah, we really just wanted to hang out. So that's why we're recording now.
Exactly.
Um, I just wanted to go over, speaking of Instagram, I have your profile pulled up because it kind of just sums up, what I would ask you. And I know some things about you, but I don't know that much about you. I think I had heard of you or seen you on Instagram
Fair.
through Garmin, right? Because we have the shared sponsor of Garmin and all the orange, because you're the orange girl. I'm the purple girl, but I think you crush the orange a little more than I crush the purple. But your Instagram profile says D1 soccer to training floor to MBA to pro mountain bike and gravel racer. And recently added mom to the resume, which is what we're really here to talk about. But also, wasn't there a stint in pro triathlon?
There was, and Instagram limits the number of characters, and
Yes.
so Pro Triathlon got taken out in lieu of adding being mom. So
That's a fair
there was a
trade.
stint in which I was pro from like 2019 into 2020. So it was an
Okay.
interesting. I did one pro race, and then the world shut down. So
Yeah.
it was one of those that was originally the plan after business school, and then I dabbled a little bit, realized I was a horrific swimmer, and the only reason that I was good at triathlon was because I could ride my bike fast and
Yeah.
run kind of fast. So
Yeah.
I pivoted and just switched to focusing on the bike, and that's where I've been since.
There you go. Well, smart move. It sounds like a smart business decision. That business degree paid off. So, well, that's awesome. Anything you want to elaborate on there, or did we cover
Yeah,
you've
I
had
mean
like
that's like the generic background. It's an
yeah.
easy one. I think it is. It's interesting. This podcast probably has a little bit of a different demographic with more of a triathlon focus. So I'm probably a little bit less well known. But yeah, so I started as a soccer player in terms of athletic
Yeah.
careers and things like that. I assumed after college, my athletic endeavors were probably over, except for like maybe an occasional like midlife crisis marathon or something
Yeah.
like that. I signed up for a triathlon um, kind of in this time between quitting my job as a equities trader in New York and
Mm.
moving to Los Angeles to go to business school. So I discovered this entire new world of endurance athletics. And so I did my first triathlon. I did the Boulder 70.3 the
Sweet.
week before I started business school. And I showed up with like the Sharpie, the tattoos that you can't get off still
Yeah.
on my arms and things like
Yeah.
that. So it was an interesting, I was immediately branded as this girl who was, really into endurance athletics. Despite now looking back, I was like, wow, I was so new and naive and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, we all were.
Yeah. And it was funny, like with the trend, everyone being their like 2016 throwbacks. I was like, I hadn't even clipped into a bike or didn't even know this world existed. Everyone is so like, oh my gosh, look at how new I looked. And I was like, I didn't even like,
Yeah.
I was literally maybe going to the gym, working from 6 a.m. until 5 p.m. and then going out with clients until all hours in New York and not seeing the sun. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a different life. But
Isn't it
yeah, it's
crazy
been
like all the different lives you have lived already? Do you ever
yeah.
I think about that a lot cuz I don't know if you know, but I worked in public accounting before triathlon.
Yeah.
And
So it's one of those, yeah. I feel like my life especially has been super like chapter oriented. Like there
yes.
was like when you meet someone, you're like, hi, I'm Isabel, I play soccer.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Isabel, I go to Columbia. Hi, I'm Isabel, I work on the trading floor at UBS. Like, and then it was I'm in business school, and then it was I'm a triathlete, and now I'm professional gravel racer. And now it's an interesting, I think you and I are both now like the main focus in my life is I'm a mom, which
Yes.
is amazing, but it's one of those like new chapters, and I've been super thankful for every chapter that I've had, but it's also been one, I don't think I could have predicted anything. I didn't plan to go to business school and graduate as a pro athlete. I
Yeah.
think everyone that, my career like counselors in school were like, you want to do what? Like,
Yeah.
um,
Oh my
and even
gosh.
with that, like I didn't expect to be as successful as I have. And so it's one of those that like each chapter I've tried to focus on like being fully in it in that moment. And then you see kind of where you can do with it, and be open to saying like, it's okay if my 5-year plan, I don't know what it is, because I couldn't have predicted kind of what I've done in the past. And I've been so thankful kind of like for what, well, life has thrown at me.
Yeah.
And one of the things my mom used to tell us growing up is she was always like, you're never going to be mad about having too many opportunities. So it's one
Mm.
of those, you kind of like, you say yes to things that maybe don't think are going to be meaningful at all, and maybe they turn into something and maybe they don't. And I do feel like my life is kind of branched in different ways because you say yes to things that maybe you didn't think were even going to be a thing, and suddenly you're riding a bike for 200 miles and then it's your job.
Yeah, you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
No, that is, I love that. The chapters thing, I've thought a lot about that. Like, I don't know, becoming a mother is a very distinct chapter change, the start of a new
Yeah.
chapter. And I don't know for me personally if I realized how big of a chapter change it was going to be, because I think in my head I thought, oh, well, I'm a pro triathlete and I'm going to have a baby and then I'm just going to get back to being a pro triathlete. And I had no idea how the gravity of what becoming a mom was. And I feel
Okay.
like we're not the same person. We don't have the exact situation, but I feel like we share some similar feelings on that, where
Yeah.
it just like rocked our world in the best way possible. But then it's like, like what chapter am I even in right now? Like, am I a pro triathlete? Am I a mom? Like, what's going on? So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree and hear and feel that deeply. I think it's one of those, it was really cute. I did a lot of racing pregnant,
Yes,
not
you
fast,
did.
but I was out there and I was doing it. And I think in my head, I was like, the pregnancy year is the one that you're not really able to do your job. And that's the year that's really hard. You're growing a child and your body is a vessel for growing a child.
Yeah.
And in my head, I don't know if I was just naive or idiotic. I was kind of like, okay, like once you have the baby, like you get back to kind of like being your other self. And it's very fun. You also have a baby and maybe you're a little bit, more pressed for time. But that was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think that it would change my life as much as it has. And it was I did one race and I have a 4-year-old niece, and she's been so cute. She loves her cousin, baby Hazel. And she was
Yeah.
like, well, can't you just like take the baby off while you race? And I was like, no, like she has to come with me. She's in my stomach. And it was
Cute.
a really cute way, like being like, can't you just like, and I was like, once she's born, like I can do that. But now I'm like, I can't do that. Like
Yes.
it is one of those that
Yes.
you're like, the baby is no longer in your body, but now it is a thriving human that's like changing every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
mentally, it's been way harder to be away from her than I thought it
Yes.
would be. I think the physical side of it, like not bouncing back in any way, but I think the physical side of it has come back a lot more. And I didn't expect the mental side of it to kind of be the limiting factor, which is
Same.
interesting. Yeah. Like it's one of those, I feel like I'm like, okay, how do I have a 5-month old? But also I gave birth yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
not.
And just I remember after having Lois. Okay, your baby's Hazel. We should back up. We should back up a little
Yeah.
bit. Cuz okay. um when was Hazel born? So she's 5 months old. Hazel is this
she
baby. Yes.
That's my baby. Hazel is 5.5, so she was born mid August.
Okay.
It was funny. Last night, my husband was like, "Yeah, I was talking to my client and yada yada," and he asked how old Hazel was, and I said 6 months old, and I was like, "Hold on, so we
Five and a
add in
half.
time? She's 5.5.
Yeah.
Like, let's be, she's
Yes.
not 6 yet."
Yes.
But yeah, so she was born mid August. And again, kind of with that, like I was like, wow, like I didn't mean to plan it like this, but what a blessing in that, like I only missed 2 races, and like I would have all of off season to kind of like recover and get back
Yes.
into training, and I'll be ready for the season when it starts in March. And now I'm like, well, it's February and I've done a 3-hour ride is my like longest
Right.
ride I've done.
Right.
Like
And the fitness maybe isn't where it usually was
no,
or
like
is.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still, I don't think I'm back to training per se. I'm back to riding definitely, but it's one
Yeah.
of those where like it's your body goes through so much. I'm still in like being very thankful for being able to do anything really.
Yeah.
Which is I think still a very cool mentality. You and I talked about it a little bit where it's like you almost get to reset because as endurance athletes, you get so into your like, okay, if it's not a 4 hour bike ride, it doesn't really count. If it's
Yeah.
not a, 15-mile run, it's a short run,
Yeah.
quickie.
If
Like
it's
if
not
it's
a
not an
30-hour week, why bother?
yeah.
Bother, yeah.
Whereas like last week, I think I did like a 12-hour week and I was like, this is huge versus
Yes.
like my training before having a baby. I was very much like a volume is king or queen kind of thing. I loved big
Mm-hmm.
days and things like that. So my weeks were 25 to 30 hours a week. And my smallest weeks, if I did a 12-hour week, probably I would be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like I'm losing fitness. What am I doing? I'm being so lazy, yada, yada, yada. And now I'm like 12-hour week. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
I know the perspective change is real. And you know what? You can do a lot with 12 hours if you're really
True.
intentional. But
Yeah.
also, there's this limiting factor of sleep. And I don't know where sleep is
Yeah.
at for you right now, but I feel like that's something we don't necessarily hear about. And I know there are those babies out there who sleep through the night at like 8 weeks. And I'm so happy for those parents and that baby.
Congratulations. Kudos.
Yeah, that's amazing. But like, that has not been my case at all. And that was something I didn't expect with having a baby and getting back to training. Cause yeah, you just, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so how does that play into your training as well? Are there days where you're just like, I need to sleep? Or I've seen you post
Yeah.
on Instagram. You share a lot on Instagram where you're like, oh, I had these intervals planned, but I'm too tired. So I'm just riding. And there's
Yeah.
just the flexibility you have to be open to.
And I think I've told you before, you were super helpful. I listened to your early podcast where you were you're training to go into Kona and you were
Mm.
talking about coaching and whether it was helpful and things like that. Cause I waffled a
Yeah.
lot with that where I was like, even when I was pregnant, I was using my coach and then we ended up stopping because I was like, I feel like I'm wasting your time when you're putting intervals. And
Yes.
sometimes I feel like trash. And sometimes like luckily we'd worked together for so long and he knows that I'm someone that like it wouldn't ever cross my mind to skip a workout.
Yes.
But I feel like in the last year, it's one of those where you're like, you really truly do have to listen to your body. And I've had to kind of let go of any idea of like, oh, today, like you can't even on nights where she sleeps well, or like
Mm-hmm.
we got more sleep than we thought, like you feel like trash because your
Mm-hmm.
body's like, wait a second, I was like way more sleep than you like were supposed to get. Which has been reassuring. My husband is super helpful and he helps with some of the night feeds as
Nice.
well, which is really nice. And it's been kind of reassuring that he also feels like trash on days where we sleep too much, which is like not that much even, but like
Right.
so it's one of those. I think mentally, I am so thankful for the ability to go out and move my body. And on days where I unexpectedly feel good, I'm like, hell yeah,
Yep.
let's push a little bit, let's see what I can do. And then most days, like yesterday, I was kind of like, all right, like it wasn't a crazy stressful day. Hazel was actually pretty easy, but our nanny came for 2 hours in the afternoon. So I was like, let me just go do a short ride. Like maybe if I feel good, and I felt like absolute trash. I was like, I don't even know why I'm wearing a kit. Like I
Yeah.
should be in baggy clothes. I should be literally cruising on a beach cruiser, but I just
Yeah.
was like happy to be outside and LA has been so freaking hot, which is
Oh, it
funny
looks
to
so
whine
nice.
about. But as someone that's been sweaty since like the moment I got pregnant, I'm
Yeah.
like so over it being hot.
Well, I know some places that are cold if
No,
you
I know.
would.
I'm like literally go anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, yeah. Although it has been unusually warm here too. I'm in Salt Lake and
Yeah.
it's like 55 today or something.
Yeah,
So,
that's wild. Um, but yeah, so it's one of those. I think the sleep has been real. Anyone that's
mhm.
followed me for longer than since I had a baby knows like the Garmin got a lot of play because it'd be like, oh, like another 12-hour sleep or another like
Yes.
I am a like it runs in my family. We're very good sleepers.
Yeah.
And so the contrast of like your body learning to survive on a broken 7 hour night of sleep where you maybe
Mhm.
got 3 hours in a row
Mhm.
is yeah, it's a change. It's one of those that like I don't think you really realize how you can function, but also I don't have access to like the upper end of
No.
like athletic ability that I used to have.
Agree. I totally feel that and agree with that. And not to mention the ability to recover as well. And I
Yeah.
think it's like there's just this fog over you all the time in training a little bit. And yeah, like some days, I don't know, for me, some days I'm like, man, I feel like myself. And then some days I'm like, where? Like, why can't I run? Why can't I just like,
Yeah.
this does not feel good. And then on top of that, like, have you struggled? We were touching on the mental side, so I guess let's go back to the
Hmm.
mental side. Like, has the sleep affected you mentally? Because for me, I it's been way harder to like regulate my emotions or like I want to quit what I'm trying to do every day. I'm like, you know what? Why even bother? Like, why even try? I'm just exhausted. You know, just the mental roller coaster of it all, too, and trying to keep it together and then like not completely destroy my marriage when I'm just exhausted. Like, all these things.
No, I
It's
think it's,
so
yeah, I've
hard.
struggled with it a lot. I think like my husband Joe and I've talked about it a lot too, because like the hormones are real. I didn't expect, like, I think you think you're like, oh, you're pregnant, you're so hormonal, but like those hormones are building up over 9 months, and then you have the baby and they
Yeah.
crash like you in however many days, if not
Yeah.
weeks. And so
And not sleeping on
that,
top of it.
and not sleeping on top of it, and you're so stressed and you've never done this before, but like you have to also remember that your partner is stressed. And so it's one of
Yeah.
those that like we talked about it with our therapist. Generally I'm not good at, like, even before I wasn't good at like bringing up stuff that like
Yeah.
kind of bugged me, and then it grows into something bigger, and then like something that
Yeah.
was tiny is now bigger. And so like I think that has then been amplified, and so it's one of those that like I'm trying to figure out, you're like, rationally, I know that this shouldn't bug me. Like it didn't bug me yesterday, but like now this one moment like is too much and I'm overwhelmed, and now I've snapped and I'm crying and everyone's crying, and Joe was like, wait a second, what? Like why are we crying? And
Yeah.
so I think it's one of those, they have gotten less frequent, but even talking to friends that are also, I was like, is this normal that like 2 times a day I'm having like full breakdowns? And I think like I don't know, maybe not, but like it's gotten less frequent and I've been able to regulate a little bit better. But even at
Yeah.
the beginning, like you're trying to figure it out. Like Hazel's digestive system is completely new. Like she's
Mm.
never eaten food before, much less like just eating only breast milk. And so like
Mm-hmm.
she was crying, 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 and like we were trying to figure it out. And Joe was just trying to troubleshoot, and he was like, did you eat anything different today? And I was like, oh, you think that I did this
Yeah.
to our baby? You think that I'm eating spicy food or something that's making her, like, I was like
Yeah.
just completely lost it. And like in retrospect, no, he was not implying that like I was hurting our baby. And
Right.
like he was just trying to be like, hey, like maybe is there something that you ate that like she wasn't used to or something? Like it was very benign, but like the absolute like volcanic eruption that I had, like you
Yeah.
just are like, no, like I'm trying my best. Like milk is the only thing that really is my job, and the fact that you're questioning it is insane.
Yeah.
Like, and you know rationally it's not,
Yeah.
but it just happens. And so it's one of those that you have to kind of like after that like take a breath and reset and be like, sorry about that. Like I stand by what I said. Don't
Yeah.
question it, but also
But also I'm sorry.
but also sorry about that.
Well, and
Maybe a little bit over.
I think too is like the mom and especially a breastfeeding mother, which I'm still breastfeeding and I'm so grateful that I've been able to breastfeed. Like
Yeah,
I've loved the experience and it's come pretty easily. But you do so much as the mother. You do so much. So then to think like and you're trying your best and everything to make your baby happy and keep her happy and whatever. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's hard to feel like anyone could ever imagine anything different, even though that's not what your husband was saying. But you're just like,
Totally.
literally, I'm giving everything to this baby right
And I
now.
know it's because like he's coming from, he's like, I can't make the milk. I can't feed her right now. So like, like how can I be helpful? Like let
Yeah,
me try and
totally.
figure out. And like, and he is incredibly helpful. And
Yeah.
now like my breastfeeding journey has been a whole other thing. Like I'm very thankful that like I'm able to make the milk and things like that. Hazel has proven since she was in my stomach that she will do things her own way. She was
Yes.
breech and refused to flip over
Oh,
despite,
yes.
like manually trying to flip her over.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then like she's just like so particular, and she figured out like bottles are easier. And so it's been like
Oh,
this whole thing where it's like, I don't want to actually nurse. I want to do bottles. And you're like, we're both crying because I'm like, you got to do this. Like, like breastfeeding, I think was way more emotional than I thought it would be.
interesting.
So at this point, like I spend an hour and a half pumping because she would rather do bottles. And I'm like, I'm not willing to not give you the antibiotics and
Yeah.
feed you with my body, but I'm also like not going to make you cry by like forcing you to nurse every time.
Interesting.
So that's been a whole thing. I've like at this point I'm resigned to it. I'm like nothing's gonna be perfect. Like she's getting fed. She's just like a very
Yeah.
particular girl where she's like, nope, it's easier to do the bottle. Give me that thing.
Oh my gosh. I
so,
feel like it's the opposite. Like Lois would hardly take a bottle.
so
It's
that's the
to this
thing where I
day.
was like so devastated by being like lose like I'll we probably nursed for 4 months and so
Okay.
and then but it was like I was like lose like and my mental health and happiness was like whether she would do it or not. And so that
Yes.
was like just devastating like when she wouldn't. And again, like Joe was like, it's okay, like she's still getting fed. And I'm like, I know from your perspective, like it's fine. And I rationally I know it's fine, but it's
Yeah.
been so hard to like slowly let go of that and be like, okay, it is the same food, it's the same antibodies, it's everything. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still feeding my baby. But like it's so maddening when you're like, okay, let me go pump the milk to then feed the exact same milk to you from a bottle 20 minutes later. You're like,
Yeah.
there's a much better way to do this, Hazel.
Yeah. Right. Like it is so much easier just to throw her on the boob and
But also, if I know myself and I'm like, if she only would nurse and I wasn't able to ever
yep.
leave, if she was ever hungry, like I would also not be doing great. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you have to, you're like, yes, it's not
Yes.
perfect, but I also have to like be thankful for moments that like I am able to go ride my bike for longer
Mm-hmm.
than 2 hours because I know that if she gets hungry, like she can
She
take a bottle from either
yeah.
our nanny or from Joe, and that's super like reassuring.
Oh yeah.
So on that side, I'm like I am thankful, but I've gone through enough tears and things like that. That I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not.
There's pros and cons to everything, right?
Totally.
Like, yeah, you're reminding me of early on when I would try to leave Lois to go swim and I'd be gone for like an hour and a half and she'd scream the whole time because she wouldn't take a
Yeah.
bottle. And then I'm just like, I can't leave
Then
her.
you're trapped. You're like, I can't go anywhere.
Well, you don't want to because you don't want to put your baby through that. And
Yeah.
that goes back to the mental side of it all. I mean, it's mostly all mental. Let's be real. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the mental some more because that's what you've messaged me a lot about, and you said specifically to me. Hopefully, you're okay with me sharing. Where you're just like,
Mhm.
thank you for helping me feel like it's okay to want to be with my baby and not like
Yeah.
leave my baby. And that was one of the biggest things when I had Lois that I was just like, how are women just getting back to so much training and leaving their babies? And I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but just like a literal, I can't do this. And like, I want to be with my baby, even if I'm leaving her with someone who I know is taking good care of her. I sometimes when I'm out there, I'm still like, I should be home. I want to be home. And it's not even mom guilt. It's just like my own sincere desire to be with my baby. It's not mom
Yeah.
guilt. So,
I agree with that. And yes, I like I think it was really, really helpful for me. I think one of the reasons that I wanted to either come on this podcast or talk about it was because like
yeah.
I think it's really important to share this side of the story. I
Yeah.
almost not that I felt like misled or something, but I do
Mhm.
think media and the stories that are told are the amazing comebacks. And
Mhm.
now I think I understand that those comebacks are actually even more insane than
Mhm.
I realized. Because not necessarily, I mean, yes, on the physical side, absolutely.
Mhm.
My body is coming back much faster than I thought it would. And I would like to think like if I really wanted to put my head down and train as hard as I could put Hazel in daycare full time and say, like, I'm doing this.
Yep.
But it's not something that I want to do. And I want to make sure that like that story is told that it's okay.
Mhm.
And so I think it's really important that you've been voicing it. And I'm hopeful to do the same where it's like, it's normal or it's okay to choose your own path. You can choose,
Mhm.
like I don't want to say anyone that put, their own career in front of, staying with their child is anything lesser or more than what we're choosing to do. I think like for me, I didn't understand that like I could love something or someone so, so much and like
Yeah.
really not want to miss a moment. But then on the other side, like I still get really overwhelmed. And like
Mhm.
on days that it's just me and her, and if she doesn't take a nap or she won't let me put her down, I'm like, holy moly, like I did not have a moment to myself. And
Mhm.
so it's one of those I've had to reframe a little bit. I'm like, okay, if I want to like ride my trainer today and I know that we don't have a nanny or Joe's going to be at work, like I'm going to get up at 4, even though I was up 9 million times in the night, or maybe
Yeah.
3 because that's when she woke up and then it's already 4 by the time I put her back down.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride my trainer for an hour because I know for the rest of the day, I will be a more present mom if I'm
Hmm.
not worried. Like, if you don't take this nap, I don't get to work out. And then I am
Yeah.
going to be completely frazzled. And Joe is going to come home and we're both going to be crying. And it's going
Yeah.
to be a whole, like
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, you're constantly trying to balance everything.
Hmm.
And I think I was talking to another friend. She's not a pro athlete. She's just like not a regular human. She's like a
Yeah.
regular, fit, did half Ironmans before, just had a baby. She has a full-time job. And I think like even then she's like, I thought I could do another, half Ironman within a year of having a baby. And like
Hmm.
I've barely been able to go on a bike ride.
Yep.
First, because she had to go back to work. So on one side, I'm like, my job is riding my bike. So
Yes.
she's 5.5 months old and I'm still get to be home most of the time with her.
Yep.
And so on one side, I'm so incredibly thankful that my job allows me to be gone for smaller stints, but it's also one of those where on days that I have felt good, if I go hard and do some intervals on the bike, I come home and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I still have to be present for my baby. And
Yeah.
we're not going to just be laying on the couch in my Normatex. That's not
Yep.
something that I do anymore.
No. No.
So, like, if I am like sitting down or laying, there normally is like a baby on my chest. And so it's one of those that, yes, sure, there is a lot of time that she sleeps, but it's not in any way scheduled or
No.
practiced or either relaxing for you. Yeah, so I think it's one of those, I think it's that was a long way of saying, like, I do think it's important to tell all
Yeah.
of the stories and make it a
Yes.
little bit like, make it okay for people to feel like I don't immediately need to be back to my old self. I never want anyone to feel bad about getting back to their old self. I think
No.
everyone has their own scenarios.
Hmm.
With that, like, I grew up in a family, my mom worked and my dad stayed home with us. And
Cool.
it was, yeah, like it was very empowering. My mom worked in finance. She was like one of the only female hedge fund founders. Like, she raised 3 daughters that I do think all 3 of us are willing to take risks in a different way, because we grew up with knowing our mom was kind of trailblazing in her own way, and
Yeah.
our dad was stayed home with us and took us to the bus stop, and he was the only dad with all the moms,
Yeah.
and that
That's
was never
cool.
weird to us. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I think with that, like, it was on one side, it was really nice to have one parent that could stay home with us, but it was
Hmm.
also really nice to have a mom that was like so powerful and like kind of badass in her own
Yeah.
way, because it led, like, I've never been intimidated to jump into male dominated fields or anything like that. And now having my own daughter, like, it's one of those where I go back and forth between being like, I want to be here with you at every moment, but also knowing like I really valued having a mom that had her own identity outside of
Yeah.
just being our mom. Um,
Hmm.
and so I want to make sure, you talked about it a little bit on that, on your other podcast, where it was like, they're inevitably going to grow up and like break your heart, right? Like,
Hmm.
time is
Yeah.
already flying, right? And so
Yeah.
at some point, like, I'm going to be someone else besides Hazel's mom. And I
Yeah.
need to figure out what that is and what that looks like. So it's finding a balance between how do I be there as best that I possibly can be. And I think at this point, like, they're so small,
Hmm.
it's more for me. She's not going to
Yes.
remember that I was, I cut my bike ride short to be, or that I got up at 4 in the morning to like make sure that I was present there. She's not going to know that I got overwhelmed with her when she didn't take a nap, like,
Yeah.
it's those moments are for your own self. And then
Hmm.
it's once they get older that you want to make sure like you're still present for them, but also like you have your own identity. So
Yeah.
I don't know, struggling with the balance of what do you, um, yeah, how do you maintain your own identity while also being the best and most present mom that you can be?
Yeah. And I think it comes down to every woman having to make their own choices. And that's where, like,
Yeah.
yeah, the women who bounce back and like have these incredible performances quickly after having a baby, that's amazing. But they had to make choices to do that. And that's what I realized early on, right? Is I'm like, okay, they had to choose to be away from their baby a lot more than I'm willing to choose right now. And that's okay. But like, yeah, it comes down to what you want. And Jackie Herring, as you know, she has some great mom truths. And you maybe I've said it on other podcasts. And she said to me, well, you only get one motherhood. And that really stuck with me because I'm like, yeah, yes, I want to be there for my baby, but this is also my life experience too. Like it is like what you're saying, right? Your identity, being there for your baby, but also being yourself and having your own ambitions and things. And yeah, it is important to be an example to our daughters of, working hard, having dreams and goals. But the one thing I think about too is like, and maybe it's different for you. Your mom worked and your dad was home, but like I grew up with a working mother too, and she had to work. That like financially, it dictated that. And I guess one thing I think about, and maybe this plays into my decision making, is like I, as a small kid, like I would go home for lunch with my sister and alone, and we'd make our own lunch, or we'd go home after school and we were home alone. And it's not like we were sad and depressed over it. Like we were fine, right? That's just what it was. We probably grew up very independent and self-sufficient as a result. But I just think to myself, like I never had the thought of, I wish my mom worked more. I wish my mom was gone more. I never had that thought, right? If anything, I wish my mom was available more. But that just wasn't our life circumstance. So yeah, but it's a constant wrestling, and it goes back to what you were talking about with chapters. Like, I see these years where our daughters really, really need us. Like, right? Like literally breastfeeding, for example, or like they can't even sleep through the night without us helping them. Things like that. Like they need us so much. And yes, there are other people who can fill in for us, but it's just how much are we willing to outsource that, I guess. And I also recognize for myself, like, in 5 years even, I'll be in a new chapter because Lois is going to be a completely different little human by then.
Totally.
And like, we're going to have so many chapters over the next 20 years. It's not just, our chapters evolve with our children's chapters and their dependency on us and all these things. But yeah, I think now I'm just babbling, but like, the thing that I was fascinated with that I didn't expect when I had Lois was just the unexpected cost, literally and mentally, like emotionally and physically, the cost of getting back to sport. It was the cost of the nanny, the mental cost of leaving Lois, the emotional cost of knowing she was crying when I left, things like that I did not expect, and that were really, really challenging to wrestle with and say, is this worth it? Are all these costs worth it?
Yeah. Or like this all like I've come home from bike rides and Hazel is like, oh hey mom, like I'm hanging with our nanny. Like she's like so unaffected that I'm like, oh my god, I've been gone too long. She doesn't miss me. Like
you're like stressed.
You're like, wait a second, you didn't cry when I leave. You were super pumped when our nanny.
Oh my gosh.
Like, is she more fun than me? You like her better than me? Like,
yeah, well, and that's a real thing too.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, like why didn't you get so excited when I got home?
Right.
So, like it's like everything. It's like you can't win. You're like, if I'm
that's
around,
true.
like it's one of those. I'm like, do you like your dad better? Like you get like excited when he gets home. And I think with with talking about your mom, like I think you and I in similarities. We both have husbands that work regular, non-sport, dependent jobs. I think we look at a few, like you've talked about Chelsea and Holly, who both like have been super. Holly used to live in Santa Monica, so we used to train together, and then Chelsea also. Like I feel like we're like this. There's this little unit of like you once you have your baby, you're like in this little club, and everyone is kind of supporting each other, which I love. But I also would say like they have absolutely smashed it in coming back and getting back to sport. But their scenarios are different. Chelsea's husband also stays home, right?
Well, I don't think he did at first. He used to be a firefighter. So I think,
very cool.
Yeah. So I think he would work. I don't know what her situation was. I have not talked to her, but I get the impression that he would work his long firefighter shifts and then he would be around. And then from what I gathered on social media, she would like go to her parents' house. Like I think she had a lot of support from her parents.
Big village. Yeah.
Even one time
But it's
we were racing over in Europe together, and I think she had brought like a, I don't know if I think she was just like a travel nanny with her to help take care of
but
Skye.
it's a
So yeah,
lot, right?
like
And it's one of those where like I think for them, like their livelihoods are so dependent on their sports, and that
yeah,
like I feel incredibly thankful that like my entire family's livelihood is not dependent on me being a good
yeah,
bike racer.
yeah,
And so with that, like on one hand, all of my sponsors have been so incredibly supportive and
mm-hmm,
awesome through all of this. And so I'm super thankful for that. But I also, if I had the full time pressure of
yeah,
trying to get back to my previous self while also being a good mom and having my husband be there being like, hey, like I'm gonna need you to like really crush this race
yeah,
because like we need to, raise this kid and kids are expensive. Like it
yeah,
would be, I see the pressure that even my husband feels and is like, I need to get back to work and do like that because like
yeah,
you're raising a child and you know that like that is gonna be time and cost burden
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
in the best possible way. But it's one of those yeah, it would be so much pressure.
yeah,
And I think on one side, like I joke about it, like it's maybe offensive to me as an actual athlete because all of my sponsors are like, you're actually equally valuable if you just like show up at these races and like hang out. And I'm like, okay,
awesome,
well,
awesome.
like fantastic for me, but like, was my racing really that bad?
Yeah.
No.
So my
um,
results did nothing.
yeah. But I think with that, like, you and Jackie talked about it a little bit after the Garmin race series, where it's like
Oh
there's
yeah.
this world of influencing, and then pro athletes where you guys are like we're
Mm-hmm.
struggling to get by, whereas this person shows up with the tripod and they've clearly done no training and they kind of like took some selfies while running slowly and they get paid more. And like
Yeah.
I always have struggled with that a little bit, where I think purposefully have walked the line in between, influencer
Yeah.
or, some sort of like more active on social media. And I like to think of it as storytelling because
Mm-hmm.
I will crumble if I actually realize that I moved to Los Angeles and like became an influencer. I need like
No
my
shame.
self identity needs to actually stay with being a professional athlete, but I have focused on the storytelling side of it because I do think um kind of going back to business school, like the marketing classes that I
Yeah.
took, there was a very like purposeful positioning that I did where it was like, how do you differentiate yourself from people around you?
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned when I was in business school, like my differentiator and kind of my brand was like, I was the girl that was always in orange and was wearing stretchy clothes and kind of would show up with goggle marks to class and things
Yeah.
like that. Like I was the pro athlete within a business school world. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I joined into the sports world, like I was the kind of business
Yeah.
oriented one within the sports world. And I've leaned into that in terms of like building a brand and the storytelling aspect
Yeah.
besides that. So on one side, like, yes, I am or was a fast racer, but I wasn't winning every event that I showed up to. Like
Yeah.
I was, top 10, like kind of few podiums here and there kind of racer. Where so the brands that I have worked with are they have signed me and they want to work together because they're signing me for who I am
Yeah.
and knowing that I will try my best and I will share kind of the ups and downs versus
Yeah.
we signed Days because she wins everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think with that, it's kind of padded not my like just padded the career a little bit more in that
Yeah.
like there is all of last year I was probably more valuable to my sponsors because gravel has gotten so competitive, and if I was the fastest I've ever been I would probably be coming in like 20th, and you're like
Yeah.
it's great, it's still
Yeah.
like 20th fastest in the country, really
Yeah.
great, but like is it maybe are there more eyes on me trying to say like, hey, actually I did the 50-mile race and I accidentally won because it was safer for me to be further in the front and I didn't want
Yeah.
to crash, like
At like
it
how
was
many
one of
months
those.
pregnant was that again?
Yeah, that was 7.
Yeah.
So
Amazing. Yeah.
um but it was one of those where like the actual storytelling of like there hadn't really been someone, I think there's been way more women in triathlon that have showed kind of the path of getting pregnant and what it
Mm-hmm.
looks like. And so
Yeah.
within gravel, since it's blown up, there hasn't really been kind of someone where there is the social media side of it and so much
Yeah.
like focus on it.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to think like my season last year was probably my most successful season.
And you were pregnant.
And I was pregnant, which is very interesting. And so now you look at like, what does it look like to come back? And I feel a certain amount of pressure to say, like, I don't want to just be like, actually, it's really hard and I'm just going to be a mom and I'm going to give up. Like,
Right.
it's one of those where
Right.
you're like, I think for my own self, I want to come back. And I've been super thankful. I talked to Shimano last week and I told them kind of what some of my overly ambitious goals are for this year. And they were like, I want to be very, very clear. Like, we expect you to do zero racing this year. Like, I
Wow.
want you to feel no pressure to do any racing this year because I want you to feel like you're with your baby and I want you to feel like you can be the best mom that you can be. And there's no pressure from us.
That's
And they're one of my
amazing.
biggest sponsors. And I'm like, to hear that is
Yeah.
so reassuring because I like, then they know that if I'm racing, it's for me. It's not because of some pressure. And I think you talked about that with Kona, where you're like, I felt pressure to come back and be at least some version. And I think it makes me sad that you felt like you didn't live up to some potential. Cause I look at that and I'm like, you did Kona a year from having a baby? Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it was
But
insane.
you were like, but I didn't finish in a time that I thought was like worthy of what I could do or
Yeah.
used to be able to do.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those where it's like, I initially was like, I'm going to race an entire season. I'm going to start in March and we're going to do these. And like, probably a month ago, my husband was like, can we like talk about that? Because like, we still have a tiny baby. You still haven't really been training. Like, what actually is the plan? What should be the goals for this year? Well, I even hesitate to say it now because I'm still overly ambitious with this one, but I want to do, so Unbound is the 200-mile race in Kansas.
When is that?
It's our Kona, basically. It's end of May.
Okay.
Which initially you're like so far away. And
No,
holy moly.
Yes. That's soon. That's very soon.
So when I was talking to Shimano, I was like, I want to do Unbound. I want to finish it. It would be my 5th time finishing it. So it would be like my 1,000 miles of Unbound.
Oh, cool.
Which is like a special award that you get. And my rep Meredith was like, wait, this year? Yeah. I was like, yeah, I think so. She was like, please don't like do anything that's too much.
Yeah.
Like, please don't sacrifice. I don't want you to come out and like do that race and end up not wanting to race ever again because you sacrificed so much to do that race or things like that. And so it's one of those like ambitious, I think for myself, I still would love to do it. I think it's not I'm going to go win.
Right.
It's can I finish? And I think the story of like, the first time I ever did Unbound was 2021. I'd never done a gravel race before. I'd never ridden 200 miles. Like, it was, can I finish this? And now that year I ended up coming in 8th.
Wow.
And then
maybe I want to do Unbound. You're inspiring me.
I know. And now this year, like, the story is, it's one of those where it's like, I have so much more experience. There's so much like racing under my belt.
Yeah.
But the goal kind of reverted back to like, this is my first time doing it as a mom. And like, can I finish?
Yeah.
Can like we figure out if Hazel's not sleeping through the night by then? Can you figure out how, like, when you're still breastfeeding, when you're still not sleeping through the night, when your husband's trying to like help you and do your feed zones and you have a 8-month-old baby, like, can you do this? And I think it's one of those, like, I almost think that story is cooler than like,
definitely,
oh, she came back and she just like crushed it and she was the same as before. Like, I am hopeful that I can finish, but that's still like, I think similar to your Kona. I'm like, the fact that you did it and like, you did pretty well in my opinion.
Thanks.
But like, just to be able to like go out, like knowing like, you were like, what plane do I take with Lois? Like, this is a really long flight, like things like that. You're like flying, you suddenly have 9 gajillion bags. Like, how do we even get to Kansas?
Half of
like,
them are for the baby now.
Yeah. Can Joe take off because he has to do my feed zone? Like, when do I pump during the race? Like, my boobs are going to explode or get clogged if I don't stop. So like, when I was doing it professionally as a pro, like in 200 miles for like, there's 2 aid stations in 200 miles. I stopped for 62 seconds last time I did it. So you had 31 seconds each time. It's literally enough to get a new Camelback, put some new gels in your pocket and get fresh water. And then you keep going. And I still lost the group. So like, it's crazy. So with that, you have to reframe yourself. You're like, okay, if I know that I have to pump at some point and like, I'm gonna like have to figure out, I'm probably gonna be alone because I'm not gonna be able to stay with the fast group that I want to. Like, how do you figure out how to kind of like go into it with your own goals?
Yeah.
And I think that that story is a little bit more relatable to everyone that's trying to
Yeah.
balance everyday life and a job. And even if they don't have tiny kids, like they have other things going on in their lives.
Yeah.
Whereas before, as a professional athlete, you're like, I sleep when I want, I train when I want, I eat what I want, I,
Yeah.
take a nap if I need to, I do my Normatex, I do my ice bath, like everything is dialed going into the race. Like I don't
Yes.
get sick, I don't do anything. And like now you're like, oh my God, I like had some breakfast this
Yeah.
morning. Fantastic.
Like the bar is so much lower for what counts as like an
Yeah.
amazing day of
Like
training
my
and
coffee
recovery.
machine broke this week and I was like, well, I'll just die. It's
Yeah.
fine. I'll
Yeah.
just like perish.
Did you get a new one yet? Is it coming?
It came this morning,
Oh,
honestly.
good.
I was like, best day of the world. It's great.
Oh my gosh. Well, oh my gosh, like I feel so inspired listening to you say all that, and maybe that's the value in women like us, and you're a better storyteller than I am. You share so much more, but like sharing the story of coming back to sport, it doesn't mean you have to smash it. It's finding a new path forward and what sport looks like now, and reframing success. And yeah, because it's so hard to not compare to former self, or like
Yeah.
you said, I've said it, like I have not performed at the level I used to, and so it's hard for me to feel like I'm even of value to sponsors or to
Yeah.
people who follow me, because I'm no longer that Skye anymore. And so but it's still sharing the journey, because yeah, we are a lot more relatable now. Like it's almost embarrassing what my life used to be like. When I think about it, I'm honestly embarrassed. I'm like, really? I would tell people, try to take a nap, like as if they have time to take a nap. They
Totally.
work and have kids. So yeah, I feel very inspired listening to that, and that yeah, a sporting
I also
career.
don't like, I don't think you need to feel like you're not this, like you're not the same, but I don't think you need to feel less about it because I would
Right.
argue that you're doing more now.
Oh, I'm definitely
Like
more.
I
Yeah.
like very much relate to the like meme that was like, what did I do before having kids? Was I just like watching paint dry? Because
Yes.
you're like, I truly, on days that I thought I was busy, I was like
No.
just humming and hawing and taking my time. You're like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Today, like these times, like weekends, I'm like, if I'm finished with my workout by like 6:15 and Hazel hasn't woken up, like huge win. Whereas previously I'd be like
Yeah.
crawling out of bed, being like, oh my God, the group ride starts in an hour. It's
And I only got
way too
9 hours of
early. Yeah,
sleep.
truly. Like
No,
I think
I
true like for this, I think indicative of our lives is you messaged me at 6:58 and I answered at 3:22 in the morning. And I was like, I will not be available at 7 p.m., but I will be available at 3 in the morning if you need to be and
yeah.
want to chat.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that when I said, just for reference, I messaged is last night, because we've been talking about chatting for a few weeks, but like trying to align three moms' schedules, I was like, this is literally going to
No way.
take like a miracle. So then finally I was just like, hey, I can do tomorrow morning if you can. And you were so
Made it
awesome.
happen.
Yeah. Um, yeah, well,
No,
I
I
am,
think my only final message would just be like, I think it's important that anyone that's trying to balance motherhood, or
yeah,
if you're a new dad and you're trying to support your mom, it's like you're doing more than you ever thought that you could. And you
yes.
feel it's okay if you feel like you're doing less than you ever
Yeah.
did. And just to give yourself a little grace, and every story is different, and
Mm-hmm.
not to feel bad about any story that's a crazy comeback, because even in your own self, like I think your comeback, whatever it may look like, is
Yeah.
inevitably going to be crazy, because there's no easy way
No,
to grow a human and get it out of your body
no.
and go through the emotional roller coaster that is postpartum, and come back to what is kind of a normal life.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's like the most human thing, because the
Yeah.
only reason our society exists is because moms have done this for years and years and years and years. So it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those that like I have such a great respect for every
Yeah.
mom that's come before me, both within sport and just returning to work and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Moms are freaking amazing. That was the other
yeah,
thing. Instantly after even just the birth experience, whatever that looks like, I was just like, that was the craziest thing I've ever done. And I can't believe every person is here because a mom did that.
wild.
Yeah, that is, those are such good words of advice. And yeah, no comeback story, whether it's sport or work. There's no easy path. And yeah, some moms win, some moms don't win, but at the end of the day, it's all a win, actually. Like whether it's
I agree with
literally a
that.
win or not, it's a huge win, and it's a huge life change and challenge and opportunity all at the same time. And it's funny because at least for me, yeah, maybe the results aren't as good as they used to be, and the volume's not as high, but my life feels so much more joyful and fuller now. Even with the sleep deprivation at times, like, we wouldn't trade it for anything. And that's also something I never could have understood before
No.
having my baby. So
Must be nice to have had a lot of wins before having a baby too. No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
well, I like go back and enjoy them in my head where I'm like, oh, remember how I just used to do that? Like,
I would say, like, I always joke, my most offensive thing that's ever happened to me as an athlete, even my soccer career, everything, I've never been drug tested. So
wow.
literally, it's been like, if you're cheating, honestly, continue because you're not doing very well or good enough to have anyone think that you're cheating. Like,
Oh
this
my
is so,
gosh.
like, please, can someone just be like, random drug test me? I would really love like some validation that someone thought I was good enough to be cheating.
That's crazy. Do they not do a lot in gravel racing?
It's like they've started to do more, I think, as money has come into the sport.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit less wild west, but it's very like, we'll test at this race. And so I
Yeah.
think like that's a whole nother thing that you could say, maybe like the people that are doing scary stuff are
Yeah.
skipping those races strategically. But
Interesting.
again, even in those races, I haven't done well enough to get drug tested.
Well, maybe that's your new goal.
Maybe that's my
Yeah.
post mom goal.
Be so good. Be so good that you get drug tested. Yeah, that is a sign of when I got drug tested, I remember thinking,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, like
You're
you
like,
think
I've
I'm
made
good
it.
enough?"
Like
Yeah.
people think I'm cheating. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it.
That's amazing. Um okay, well, I don't know. I have this list of things. I think
I
we
would say
covered things.
congrats to us for
Yes.
making this happen.
Yay
I don't
us.
know.
And
Hopefully it's helpful for anyone listening.
yes. Yeah, I hope it's helpful. You're not alone, and
And I heard that you want to come to gravel, so we can leave it on the note of let me know we can do a race together. That would be super
yeah,
fun.
actually, well, I'm gonna try to get into Unbound now. No, just kidding. I don't think I
I know
can.
some people.
Yeah,
No.
you probably do. Um, yeah, no, I do want to do some gravel racing. I have a couple gravel bikes that have not been ridden enough. So, in fact, one has never been ridden. It's in a box, brand new still.
It's
So,
fresh. There you go.
um, yeah, I think that would be fun. I think I would really enjoy a new challenge and maybe something that doesn't require as much swimming, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
You
there's also
understand
there,
that?
it's becoming like, I absolutely becoming that. There's a lot of run ride combos. Mid South
Really?
this year is they changed it, so in the morning it's long. I think it's a 50K run in the morning, and then
Oh,
3
wow.
p.m. they start the gravel or the pro gravel race. So there's a double category. So if you do the run in the morning and then the ride in the afternoon, it's like your own category, and
But
you compete against other
50K?
women. It's long, I
Oh
know,
my
and then
gosh.
it's a 100 mile gravel race.
Wow, that's
But
next
like,
level.
and then there's ones gravel worlds in August. So one of the ones I actually met Jackie at this one. It was a
Oh, yeah.
25K run on Friday, and then 150 mile gravel race the next day. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to brag, that is the one that I did win.
Oh,
Um,
amazing.
so, but it was fun to like switch it up and change. I was like, running is not technically my job. And so I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed like getting back into it and
Yeah.
training for that. And
Yeah.
it weirdly took the pressure off the bike race part. I ended up
Yeah.
doing, I think I got eighth in the bike race, but I was like, literally could not feel my quads because I forgot to practice running downhill. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's like 3,000 feet of elevation in this run. So I practiced like some uphills, but I was like not practicing. So I just demolished my quads. And I
Oh
literally, it
my
was one of those where
gosh.
like I couldn't get down the stairs to my Airbnb. I like couldn't get out of the car. And I was like, how am I supposed to race my bike 150 miles the next day? And
Yeah.
I just like figured out how to ride my bike with like my butt and my
Yeah.
calves, I guess.
The glutes.
But it was one of those that like I actually like did some attacks, and I was like, this is very fun because I'm racing and everyone here knows that like I ran yesterday while they were sitting in their Normatec boots. And so like there isn't any pressure. And I was so
Yeah.
relaxed. And I was like, I need to figure out how to race that way and go into races that relaxed without having to like physically like
Yeah.
handicap myself. But yeah, that's a great one. That one's in August. They have a bunch of different ones this year. They switch it. There's a swim swim Friday, bike race
Wow.
Saturday, gravel trail race Sunday.
Okay.
So
Well, I need
there
to
are
do some looking.
options.
I need to do some looking because I also think it would be good to just like reset the bar, right? Like I don't have anything to compare to
Yeah.
in gravel racing or whatever that run the day before racing would be like. So anyway, I think I think that would be fun. Anyway, no
Yeah.
official
It's the
announcement, but
best.
I
If you've never done it, it's the best you've ever done. So
exactly, exactly.
it's a personal record.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Iz, for joining. Izzy
Of
King
course.
is. Yeah.
King is.
Let's chat some more. Send me some voice memos anytime on Instagram.
Yeah.
Let's mom talk. That's actually the first time we like talked. We sent some voice memos about our mom life. So anyway, if you don't follow Iz, go find her on Instagram. I'll include the handle. I just know it's King Is, but I think there's an underscore in there somewhere.
There's an underscore. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll include it in the show notes and yeah, follow the mom journey and watch her crush whatever she does because it's a win no matter what because we know how much goes into getting back to a start line as a mother. So,
Hell yeah.
okay, thank you so much. I hope you
Thank
have an
you.
amazing day. So fun
You
to
too.
chat.
Say hi to Lois.
I will. You can say hi to
Bye.
Hazel. Bye.